final yet. I haven't been paying attention the last 49 minutes since we hit the air. But Scott, your thoughts on John Harbaugh to the Giants?
Well, I think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to a team that has a lot of talent, and I imagine he's going to be able to get the best out of it and restore some sanity there. This sounds like this is for the first time in a long time they've got somebody that makes sense as head coach, a professional who has been there and done that. So I think it's really good for the Giants.
Yeah, I feel like they win the sweepstakes, and I'm a little, I shouldn't say surprised. I think usually a candidate like that, he can play the field a little bit and do a bunch of interviews. As far as I know, that was his first interview, right?
They never let him leave the building. I mean, Tennessee was ready to go all in on him, and Harbaugh canceled his visit with Tennessee. They were courting him as soon as he was let go, and yeah, the Giants locked him in.
Yeah, he was. I guess the reports were yesterday. I was trying to follow it that he had left the building, was heading back to Baltimore, but didn't get that second interview. I mean, the Giants put the full court press on him and made him the offer he can't refuse. Apparently.
Okay, so there's that. The reports today, the Lions are interviewing two more offensive coordinator candidates. One is Arthur Smith, who was part of Mike Tomlin's staff in Pittsburgh, and I do like that, although he's bounced around a little bit, different jobs along the way. He's known for his versatility and his flexibility. He's known to be able to craft a game plan regardless of the talent that he has. He's got a good reputation. He'd be a fine fallback position. The other is a guy I've talked about since day one just because I'm looking for golf compatibility, and I think we've got our answer whether or not he'd be compatible with Goff because he was with Goff when they were with the Rams, and that's Zach Robinson, who was the offensive coordinator for the Falcons. And the Falcons fired Raheem Morris, so he becomes available. So Zach Robinson now, I think we have an answer to the question, is there Goff compatibility? Because I don't know if Jared Goff is consulted on these things. I imagine he very well might be when it comes to somebody who once was on a staff that Goff played for. Now, he was an assistant, I believe he was an assistant QB coach.
Well, when he was with the Rams in 2019, he was the assistant quarterbacks coach. The following season, he was the assistant wide receivers coach. And then in 2021, he was the assistant quarterbacks coach again.
Yeah.
It was 2021 the first year that Goff was here. So that's when he was no longer associated with Jared Goff, but was also the passing game coordinator and quarterbacks coach from 2022 and 2023. So Super Bowl, and worked with Matthew Stafford and that whole thing. There's, out of the two names, one I just want to say absolutely don't even do the interview, and the other is Zach Robinson.
You don't want
Arthur Smith. No, absolutely not. In fact, here's the reason why I'd rather talk to Zach Robinson and no Arthur Smith. Arthur Smith was with the Falcons. They were horrible a couple of years ago offensively. They had all these weapons, and he had no idea what to do. Bijan Robinson wasn't getting the ball, and they couldn't seem to work with Kyle Pitts and everybody else that they had. They just couldn't figure it out. Zach Robinson comes in, and all of a sudden they're starting to instill an offense that's moving the ball down the field. The running game was pretty good. Bijan Robinson is, hey, look who's back. Look who's got all these yards now, and part of the running game and the passing game. And then Kyle Pitts is getting used, and now he's a useful piece again and living up to the potential of being the top 10 pick. So, yeah, I'll take the guy that worked well with Atlanta versus the guy who sucked at Atlanta.
Well, Bijan Robinson and Kyle Pitts were very earlier in their careers, and Bijan Robinson almost rushed for 1,000 yards that year. But, that's fine because I'm a Zach Robinson guy. So I'll go ahead and take Zach Robinson over Arthur Smith.
I don't even want him to interview Arthur Smith.
Well, apparently you're not going to get your way on that. The other news is that Mike McDaniel's taken up an interview with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for their offensive coordinator spot, which is somewhat unfortunate because that means there's another safe landing spot if he doesn't get a head coaching job. I suspect he will get a head coaching job, and we don't need to worry about it. But thoughts on McDaniel getting Tampa Bay's ear?
I'm not worried about another coordinator job other than the Eagles. That's the one that I would be concerned about. I don't know if, now that Harbaugh is in place with the Giants, I guess I'd be concerned if Harbaugh reaches out to have McDaniel as his offensive coordinator, because it's like a legit crew that to be working with there. But I still think he's going to get a job being a head coach in this league in this cycle.
Yep.
So I'm hoping he doesn't so that the Lions can get him. I think he's top of my list for offensive coordinators. So we'll see where that goes.
And then there was this as an unexpected source, unexpected name. Did he throw his hat into the ring yesterday on the Pat McAfee show? Dan Orlovsky would love to be the offensive coordinator in Detroit.
I like Dan Orlovsky. I think he's very competent at what he does. That's underselling. I think he's very good at what he does on TV and with social media and diagramming plays and stuff like that. I think he's very knowledgeable. He's not an offensive coordinator. He hasn't done it. He hasn't coached in the NFL in any capacity that I know of. So, no. But I like Dan Orlovsky. I like him a lot. Can
he be to the offensive coordinator spot what John Lynch was out of the booth and into the executive offices of the 49ers, has got them playing at peak performance? Or would he be more Matt Millen out of the broadcast booth? And I love Orlovsky. And I love Orlovsky. First of all, I think he lives at ESPN.
Yeah,
if you turn on ESPN at 7 in the morning, Dan Orlovsky's in the middle of a live analysis of what's going on with the Cowboys. If you turn on ESPN at noon, there's Orlovsky taking another angle on what's going on with the Cowboys. And then if you turn on ESPN at night, he's on the pregame show for the Monday Night Football talking about what's going on with the Cowboys. Like, he is checking all the boxes for ESPN all around the clock, being able to talk about the Cowboys. He never leaves ESPN.
Well, he's not only ESPN. You'll watch TV Sundays. We'll have both ESPN and ESPN2 on here in the studio, and we'll see him on at the same time
on both
doing different shows.
Dan Orlovsky is one of the hardest working men.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, he does really love Detroit.
Yeah.
It is kind of nice to have that voice out there for us. 248-539-9797. Did I make a big mistake? We'll get to that today at 10:08. Karsch and Anderson, 97.1.